These individuals that are giant role models for those who refer to themselves as Sunni, namely Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, and Aisha, etc., are the very individuals that those who call themselves Sunni refer to so they may understand their religion itself. Our bold and certain claim is that this group of tyrants, murderers, and criminals are responsible for the very terrorist attacks here at home, in the West, and across the world. They are the founding fathers of the poisonous Salafi and Wahhabi movements that until today manipulate the old and radicalize the young. We can prove that the teachings, books, and revered historical figures of so-called Sunni Islam are undoubtedly the direct inspiration for the emergence of these terrorist groups, such as ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Taliban, Boko Haram, and their likes. And unless we academically tackle this ideology instead of military action alone, then the emergence of terrorist groups will forever continue, for its ideology will live on. To eradicate terrorism, we must eradicate its root ideology. Surely, it is somewhat hypocritical of one who calls himself Sunni to condemn ISIS, for example, for burning alive a Jordanian pilot, yet on the other hand revere the tyrant Abu Bakr, who would burn alive those he saw apostates, as well as his daughter Aisha, who wasn't much better, who ordered the slow beheading of 400 men. How about Umar? Maybe Umar was slightly better. How about Umar ibn al-Khattab, the second so-called Sunni caliph? This is a man who wiped out an entire city named Arab Sus and all its inhabitants, spread racism and bloodshed, and murdered the very daughter of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him and his family. This is to show you that one of the first, if not the first victim of terrorism in Islam was actually the daughter of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon them. Imagine what a role and what responsibility we have as Shia, as Rafid, as Muslims, to show the nation of what misconception has come upon them today. That as soon as they hear the name, the word of Allah, for example, the word of Islam, immediately they start thinking of negative things and of terrorism. When of course, as we have already mentioned, the first victims of terrorism in so-called Islamic terrorism, or rather non-Islamic terrorism, were actually Muslims themselves, and the best of Muslims. Should we consider the well-known and often well-spoken about Khalid ibn al-Walid, as he is made out to be today? Endless families name their children after this very man. There isn't a single person who calls himself Sunni in the past and present, but that reveres Khalid ibn al-Walid. This is only because they aren't aware of the murderous nature. I ask everyone to spend some time reading and discovering these facts for themselves, and not to take our word for it alone. What a mess. What a mess the Muslims find themselves in today. Handing over such villainous role models, not only to themselves but also to their children. And then they wonder why their children fly off to join terror gangs in the Middle East and so on and so forth. Or wonder why they wake up every morning with a Muslim on the headline, a so-called Islamic terrorist attack. They'd rather go ahead and blame the media, for example, blame all the hidden agendas, rather than take a look at what poison their scholars have been feeding them and their children.